Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Budslick, and today I'll be presenting my research-based analysis of the relationship between advanced paternal age and the likelihood of autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. This presentation is the culmination of both my modified literature review and my research paper. I'll be walking through the supporting scientific evidence, the opposing research, and the real-world implications of everything I've found. Autism spectrum disorder is a complex neurodevelopmental condition that affects communication, social interaction, and behavior. What makes ASD especially challenging to study is that symptoms vary widely between individuals. Over the last couple of decades, researchers have increasingly agreed that ASD results from a combination of genetic, environmental, and biological factors. While maternal health and prenatal environment were once the main focus, a newer line of research has started paying close attention to the role of paternal age at the time of conception. That's the focus of my presentation today. The thesis I'm examining in this presentation is that advanced paternal age increases the likelihood of autism spectrum disorder in children due to genetic mutations and developmental risk factors associated with aging. This means that as men get older, the biological processes involved in sperm production may introduce more genetic variations, some of which could impact neurodevelopment. Throughout this presentation, I'll show the strongest evidence supporting this thesis, the research that contradicts it, and the real-world implications of this relationship. My goal is not to say that paternal age causes autism, but to show how age interacts with other factors to increase or decrease ASD risk. One of the most influential studies supporting this relationship is by Gao and colleagues in 2020. They analyzed data on more than 1.4 million children in Denmark. Their research found a very clear pattern. Autism risk steadily increased as paternal age increased. Fathers over the age of 50 had an odds ratio of about 1.57, meaning their children were over 50% more likely to be diagnosed with ASD compared to children of fathers in their 20s. What makes this study especially convincing is that it also found multi-generational effects. For example, even the ages of grandparents influence autism risk in grandchildren. And importantly, these effects remained significant even after controlling for social and economic factors. This strongly suggests that biological aging, and not just environmental differences, play a role in ASD development. Another very large and powerful study was done by Sandin and colleagues in 2016. This study included data from over 5.7 million births across 5 different countries. What they found mirrors the results of the Gao study. Both older mothers and older fathers were independently associated with increased ASD risk. For fathers over 50, the risk was about 66% higher compared to fathers in their 20s. What's particularly important is that these results were consistent across different countries and populations. The researchers also found that large age differences between the parents added additional risk, even when the father was significantly older. This suggests that paternal age isn't an isolated factor. It interacts with other demographic patterns in very meaningful ways. A meta-analysis by Wu and colleagues in 2016 brought together 27 studies with over 17 million participants. Meta-analyses are extremely valuable because they combine data from many different studies to identify consistent patterns. And in this case, the researchers found a clear dose-response relationship. For every 10-year increase in paternal age, autism odds increased by 21%. A dose-response pattern is one of the strongest indicators of a potentially causal relationship. It means the risk doesn't just randomly occur, it rises steadily with age. Combined with the consistency across multiple countries and study designs, these findings strongly support the idea that paternal age plays a meaningful role in ASD risk. Even though many studies support the paternal age effect, there are important exceptions. One of the most notable comes from Lyle and colleagues in 2020. They studied 397 younger siblings of children that had autism, meaning these families already had a higher genetic risk for ASD. Interestingly, the results showed that younger fathers, not older ones, were associated with greater autism risk in this high-risk population. They also found that children of older fathers tended to score higher on early learning assessments. This suggests that paternal age might operate differently in families with strong genetic predispositions. In other words, the effect of paternal age is not universal and may depend on the background and genetics of the family. Another opposing perspective comes from Forsen and colleagues in 2024. Instead of focusing on biology, they examined social behavior, specifically assortative mating. This refers to the tendency for individuals with similar traits to partner with one another. Their research suggests that rising autism rates may be influenced by people with autism-related traits increasingly pairing together, rather than paternal age itself. They also pointed out that cultural changes, population trends, and diagnostic shifts can all make autism appear more common, even if genetic risk haven't changed. This means that paternal age might correlate with autism, but not actually cause the increase. Beyond these specific studies, other researchers have noted several confounding relationships that complicate the paternal age relationship. The rise in ASD diagnosis over the past 10 to 20 years is partly due to better awareness, improved diagnostic standards, and greater access to early screening. Socioeconomic status also plays a major role. Older fathers often have different educational backgrounds, lifestyles, or health behaviors compared to younger fathers. These differences can influence developmental outcomes. So in some cases, paternal age might be acting as a proxy for completely different variables. Understanding how paternal age interacts with autism risk has important public health implications. The CDC reports that around 1 in 38 8-year-old children in the United States are diagnosed with ASD. Parental age is just one environmental factor, but it's still important for shaping screening strategies, resource planning, and community education. Public health agencies can use this information to encourage earlier developmental monitoring, especially for families with older parents. This doesn't mean simply discouraging older fatherhood. It simply means raising awareness so that children at slightly higher risk can receive early support if needed. For clinicians, paternal age can be an important part of genetic counseling, fertility planning, and early developmental screening. However, it's crucial that clinicians present this information accurately. Advanced paternal age increases autism risk, but it does not guarantee that a child will have ASD. And organizations like the World Health Organization, Autism Speaks, and the National Library of Medicine emphasize that autism arises from many interacting factors, not just age. Clinicians must communicate risk without creating fear or stigma. Instead, paternal age should be one part of a broader, holistic conversation about child development and family planning. This topic is personally meaningful to me because my father was 48 and 52 when my sister and I were born. Learning about paternal age research helped me understand that while advanced paternal age is associated with higher risk, it doesn't determine outcomes. Going through the research taught me how important it is to stay objective, look at evidence from multiple perspectives, and avoid making assumptions. It also helped me understand how complex autism really is, and how careful and accurate communication can help families feel supported rather than worried. To conclude, the evidence strongly supports my thesis. Advanced paternal age is associated with an increased likelihood of autism spectrum disorder. This link appears to operate mainly through biological and genetic changes that occur as men age. However, the relationship is not straightforward. Studies like those by Lyle and Forson show that social patterns, family genetics, and diagnostic changes all influence autism risk too. My final takeaway is that paternal age is meaningful, but only as one piece of a much larger puzzle. Future research should continue exploring how genetic, environmental, and social factors all interact. From a clinical and public health perspective, this research can help improve early detection and provide better guidance for families all across the globe. These are my APA formatted references used in my presentation. They match the sources in my modified literature review and my research paper. Thank you.